But Mark, let's move into our final segment, and this is usually where I say, oh, like we always do, we make our picks, but we're not making picks this week because we're making our predictions for the entire playoffs. And the reason why we're not making wildcard picks, they're going to be in here, so you can kind of talk about that a little bit when you make them. So how I do it, if you're on podcast services around the world, you're just going to have to listen right on through. Mark gives his. Are we going to do round by round? No, we're just going to do your whole bracket until the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we don't give our Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, but we'll do your whole bracket, my whole bracket, instead of doing the round v round stuff. Because on YouTube, you're going to see Mark's bracket while he's talking through it, so you can see the team's highlight and fill in from there. So I'm going to let you go first, Mark. Take us through. You can start AFC or NFC with your bracket top to bottom.
Alphabetical order here. Let's start in the AFC. The Colts versus the Texans is probably one of the most interesting matchups, I think.
More interesting than Ravens Chargers.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Because you got the hottest team with the Colts. Incredibly hot. And when I mean hot as well is this is a team that looks like they could win a Super Bowl right now. They are coming on just hot. You have the team that should have been last year with the Texans, having everything go right, this year for them. They're not facing those injuries. This is going to be a very difficult one and a great matchup. Andrew Luck versus Deshaun Watson. I can't wait to see it. The key here, Colts offensive line has to hold up. That's what it is because this Texans defense is amazing. That pass rush is deadly. If the Colts offensive line stands up, I think they're going to win it. That's why I'm going to pick the Colts.
Okay.
Moving over, Chargers, Ravens. I've already kind of said a little bit of my opinions on this one. The Chargers know how to stop Lamar Jackson's run game. What they needed to do, because they already did that once this year and they're lost to the Ravens, what they needed to do was figure out how to also stop him from passing. The only time he's thrown for over 200 yards was against the Chargers. And I say the only time he's thrown for over 200 yards, that's not that impressive. Lamar Jackson is the kind of wild card here because it's going to be a close game because of the Ravens defense. But I'm going to ride with the Chargers on this one because they've already stopped his running game once. Watch the tape. If they figure out how to stop him passing the ball, they'll win this game. It'll be very tight, but they can win it. Flip over to the NFC. Chicago Bears versus the Eagles. Bears are Super Bowl super champions here, so obviously they're going to win this one.
Put them all the way through,
right? Pretty much. But here's the thing: they have a really good defense. They're going to match up well at home against this Eagles team that's stumbling in. And the Bears have done this Philly special multiple times.
You're not afraid at all. A little bit is not afraid of what the Eagles can do once the playoff calendar turns.
Oh, I actually am in the sense of the teams in here in this whole wild card round. I think the Eagles are the deadliest or like the scariest team, I should say, because they're Super Bowl champions. The Super Bowl MVP, they waited. They know how it is. You don't awaken the monster until it's time. You saw Aquaman. Aquaman waited a long time before he unleashed the Kraken or whatever the hell that giant monster was.
Until he got his comic book armor.
And then he was like, now I will use this giant deadly monster to kill everybody. That's what the Eagles are doing here. They're waiting to unleash Big Dick Nick to come out here and just whip it out and beat everybody.
BDN?
Yeah.
BDN?
But, obviously this Eagles team is going to be pretty good, and they can cause some damage, but I'm going to roll with the Bears on it.
By the way, I will ask you this, is the Eagles' incentives, $1 million would have been owed to Nick Foles if he made the playoffs and played 33% of his snaps. Made the playoffs, only played 32. If you're the owner in Jed Lowry, do you pay him his $1 million in incentives?
I would. If you are a stand-up, respectable organization, you pay the man. You say, close enough. It's that teacher, you got an 89.7% on your final grade, and the teacher goes, that's an A. It's that. But exactly. And it's interesting, too, because they paid a lot of people. They gave them a $2 million bonus last year after the Super Bowl. Are they going to continue to be that respectable organization? I think they will. Anyways, Bears are going to win that one mostly because of the defense. And, it's just that defense is going to be tough for any team to beat, especially when the Bears are at home. Flip over to this other game, Seahawks-Cowboys. This one is another one where you got a really hot team in the Seahawks that are really starting to turn things on and play right. And then you got a team like the Cowboys who did what they needed to. They've won their games, but they're one of the weaker teams, I think, in the wild card round. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Back to AFC.
Thing I want to point out about your wild card, which is interesting to me, you only have one home team winning. You have 3 road teams winning and only 1 home team.
And home teams do have good advantages, and lower seeds, like first, second seed, always do have good advantages. But that advantage is, I would have to
It's greater
really,
in the divisional round.
It's a little weaker in the wild card because you get a lot of teams that are pretty equal, except for the Bears, who are the best team in NFL history. But anyways, to go on to my AFC side. Number 1 seed Chiefs versus number 6 seed Colts. I love these Colts right now. They're looking hot, but they're not going to be hot enough. I think this is a great shootout chance. As long as Andy Reid doesn't pull an Andy Reid and really mess it up here, forget about the running game, bad clock management, bad play calling. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this one. They're just too good of a team. They've got who I'm going to say should be the NFL's MVP in Patrick Mahomes. They should get this one. Then we got the Chargers versus the Patriots. This is the one where of all these, I can sit there and say, yeah, this is who I think is going to win. This is the one that's the hardest for me to pick. Number 2 seed Patriots versus number 5 seed Chargers. I really do want to pick the Patriots as that kind of been there, done that team. They know what they're doing. They know what they're going for. But there's just been a little bit of some issues with these Patriots this year. It's been a rougher year. Tom Brady's got nobody really of any quality to throw the ball to right now. And this defense, it wasn't amazing last year, but it's not quite what they need either. So I'm going to actually go with the Chargers to upset the Patriots here. Moving over NFC, we're going to have the Saints playing the Seahawks. Once again, tough match. I think if anybody's got the best chance to beat the Saints, it probably is the Seahawks. The unfortunate part, it's on the road, and Seahawks don't play that well on the road. Therefore, we're going with the Saints. It's going to be really hard to go into the Dome and beat them. Bears versus Rams. Bears have beaten the Rams at home. The question is, can they beat them on the road? That defense does travel really well. And the thing that they did best was put the pressure on Jared Goff, and Jared Goff kind of folded. If they can do it again, if they can repeat that, they win this game. If they can't repeat that success of putting pressure on him, I don't think that the Bears offense will probably keep up with that offense of McVay's. But they held him to, what was it, 14-6, I think was that game. So they held him to 6 points last time. I'm going to ride that the Bears can do it again. Bears beat the Rams. Duh, obviously. One more time, flipping back to the AFC, I got the number 1 seed Chiefs versus the number 5 seed Chargers. I don't think that the Chargers are really going to keep up against the Chiefs. I think Chiefs get a pretty
Although this would be
ride.
The third meeting between them, and the Chargers have almost had their number.
They have, but the Chiefs still tend to come out looking good. And I think this is just one more. Everything's been going right. This offense is like almost a perfect offense. It's got everything you want. They're going to ride into a Super Bowl. Flipping over one more time, we've got the Saints and the Bears. This feels familiar. We've seen this in 2006 when the Saints came marching in and lost to the Chicago Bears as the Bears go into the playoffs. Unfortunately, I don't know that the Bears can pull off the magic again. Even though I want a Super Bowl, Super Bears, there's a certain team that I said was going to win the Super Bowl.
You just feel the Bears couldn't beat the Chiefs, and I know you rather, unless you think the Bears will win, you rather lose in the NFC game.
If I'm the Bears, I feel more confident against the Chiefs than I do the Saints. And I know that there's some people out there that would really freak out about that, but the Chiefs have slowed down towards the later half of the season, as Andy Reid typically does. The Saints are very experienced in the playoffs. They know how to do it.
Before I give mine, I want to ask you a question. Because Sean brought this up.
And that meant that the Saints win, by the way.
Sean brought this up while we were watching the college football semifinals because his Notre Dame Fighting Irish were in it.
Yeah,
he said he disagrees with you, where you have always said with your team, you rather lose in the conference title game instead of losing the Super Bowl.
Well, he's seen his team lose in the Super Bowl like 3 times. He's used to it.
But why do you go through that? Because I feel like it was the same answer that I gave.
Yeah.
But because you you recruited me into that mindset. I was never in that mindset until I heard you talk about it. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I have now been recruited into the church of Mark Weber.
Seeing your team lose in the final game is crushing.
I mean, you've seen it once.
That's the most exciting thing ever. You know, your team is there. You know they're going to win because it's just right. Your team deserves to win. They're the best team out there. They're way better than that other team. One team stands in their way. You know they're going to win. You go to this Super Bowl party, or you've been staying up late watching those World Series games, you know, whatever it is. You're there and you're like, this is amazing. I know we've got it. I am ready. And then they lose. And that ruins your night. And it ruins the entire season for you. You are just like absolutely pissed. What went wrong? We should have won this game. If you lose in the conference championship game, you're like, all right, at least I can enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm a little bitter because my team's not there, but hey, I can enjoy a Chiefs-Saints Super Bowl here and just root as a kind of neutral fan.
You brought up the World Series, and I'll tell you, all those NL wildcard, those NL championship series that we lost, don't even remember them. But if we would have lost to the Indians in the World Series in that Game 7, I'd still be fucking pissed about it.
I don't really think that often about losing to the Packers in the NFC Championship game.
But you think about losing to the Colts?
I think about losing to the Colts. I think about that. I remember that game.
And I'm thinking back.
I remember those emotions being pissed.
I am thinking back. The Cubs, I've never seen them lose in a World Series, thank God.
Because they don't go that often.
Well, the one they went to, they won. Then the Bulls, I've never seen
Bulls
them
don't
lose.
Yeah, they don't lose in a championship. It's a Chicago thing.
The Vikings have never gone in my lifetime, so I've never seen that. And then the Blackhawks.
Yep.
I haven't seen the Blackhawks lose in the Stanley Cup, I don't think.
Nope.
I think they've won every single one. The Tampa Bay Lightning one was close.
Yeah.
But we pulled that one out. Bruins was also
I know
close.
you're not a White Sox fan, but White Sox went in our lifetime and won.
Exactly. They never lost.
They swept it.
I'm trying to think. Like the Patriots, you win so many of them. Like it doesn't.
But that's the thing
for
for Sean too. He's numb to it because he's seen his team lose so many times
and win so many times.
Yeah, to where like for him it's just like, oh, Super Bowl's on you, whatever. Tell me how it ends. You know,
Except
obviously
that
not.
is
He's
the
watching
opposite
it.
of Sean.
But like at that point, he's seen it, so it doesn't necessarily have that same effect.
If you saw the Snapchat story that he made from the night that they won it against the Falcons, Sean gets very into the game. Also, one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the segment, I'm going to mention now. I have a bone to pick with Viking fans.
Okay.
Because I am unhappy with everything that I have seen following our loss to you guys in Week 17 with the hating of Kirk Cousins, like we should fire Spielman.
They should.
Fire Zimdog. Like the sky is
Cut
falling.
Kirk Cousins too.
And I get it.
And Dalvin Cook.
You're upset that we didn't get in. But I think of this, and this is kind of the thoughts that I've had going into it. Number one, I know you might not have liked the answer, but Kurt is right. What Shanahan told him when he got into the league of 31 other teams do not meet their goal. 31 other teams are failures at the end of the season. So you're looking at it, we're just one of the ones that didn't get in.
I don't know what you're talking about. The Browns met their goal, not being winless.
You could have, I do get the side of like maybe Kurt should have kind of owned up a little bit and said like, hey, that's on me. But also my second point, Rome wasn't built in a day. I feel like Viking fans, we were spoiled because the last time we got a free agent quarterback, he boom, brought us to the NFC title
And you
game.
guys did look like you were one player away.
But we're not. Did
You
you
look
see
like
that
it.
offensive? Like you've
That's
been
what I've
saying
been
it the whole
saying,
year.
yeah.
Did you see that offensive line? Like I'm just gonna say,
People got a little blinded.
Viking fans, this is coming from a Viking fan, so when I say it this way, don't get mad at me. RELAX. Relax.
I do have an honest
It's gonna
question
be
for
okay.
you.
The sky is not falling. Next year's a new year. Maybe it's the Cub fan in me, but we're going to be fine.
That helps. You're trained well.
We're going to be fine.
But I think that some of the biggest problems...
Joe Madden didn't do it in 1 year, and we were expected to do it almost that year.
Although it didn't take him long.
No.
A couple things I think... One thing that is real is I think that people are upset with the amount of checkdowns. When there was pressure, he checks down real fast, which, I mean, makes sense, but I think that's why some people are upset.
But we're on our second offensive coordinator this year.
Yeah. The other thing I'm interested in knowing is, are you afraid of the stat 4-25 against winning teams?
Nope, because that can eat... You turn that around in one season, nobody remembers it. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm not afraid of it. Like I wasn't afraid of 100+ years of not winning a World Series. We won that one. Nobody brings up 100 years anymore, unless it's like a douchebag Sox fan.
Like, hey, remember when you guys had gone over 100 years?
That's it.
Yeah.
But nobody, no one on television brings it up.
Unless it's snapping a 100+ year losing streak.
Next year is a new year, and I just wanted to get that off my chest because I didn't want to do a full segment.
But with that being said, Kirk Cousins is a bust, and the Vikings are terrible.
This season, we did not live up to expectations. No, but I figure we're going to get
I will say, though,
better offensive.
It felt really nice. I know I said that the Bears in the offseason
should have signed.
This is week one. The Bears week one, I said, would knock the Packers out of the playoffs. They were taking their spot that I originally predicted for the Packers. Feels really good to also knock the division rival Vikings. Although I will say the Vikings are the NFC North team I hate the least, besides the Bears, obviously.
You hate the Lions more?
Oh, yeah. Detroit sucks.
Why?
Detroit sucks.
But the Lions are like the baby brother that can't beat anybody.
I mean, the Vikings were that same way for a while, too.
We were never the Lions. We never went 0-16.
But see, when a team goes 0-16, like...
You feel sorry for them?
Yeah, you can't hate them that much anymore.
That's why I'm surprised they're not the ones where it's like, oh, it's just little brother. But getting into my playoff predictions, we'll start off, same thing with you, AFC side. The wild card round, I love the two teams that I picked. The Colts are coming in hotter than ever. And the Texans, I kind of feel bad that they have to play the Colts right away because this will be the third time that these two teams match up. I like Andrew Luck over Deshaun Watson. I like what Frank Reich is doing with this team. They're playing hot at the right time. Now, the thing I will say that gives the Texans an edge is it is at home, and Deshaun Watson isn't chopped liver, but I think it's a close one. Colts win by like 6 or 10 points, something like that. Maybe 2 score, 1 score. The other game, I think I'm going to have it play out exactly like it did. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens get the win. Chargers being on the road is going to suck, and the Ravens being at home, they're just going to feed off of that. Defense is going to have a day. I'm going to say like 28-13 that the Ravens get that win. Then on the NFC side, I wanted to pick the Eagles so bad, but this Eagle team is not the same one that they were last year, although I do think that they can be a scary team and an upset special kind of a team. Going with the Bears in that defense to get the win at home because as everybody who doesn't live in Chicago on Fox and ESPN like to say, playing in Chicago sucks. I just look at it and go, it's another day here in the freezing tundra sometimes, which is the Chicagoland area.
Although, honestly, this Sunday is probably going to be a pretty nice day.
No, it's going to be, hopefully it's really nice. And it's like that upper 50s that we got a couple weeks ago. And then the other wildcard team, Dallas, to me, like you said, they are the weakest wildcard team. The Seahawks have been on a roll. I said it last week when we talked about the Seahawks. They're going to walk into Dallas. They're going to get the win. I'm not confident in the Cowboys. I'm very confident in Russell Wilson and what the Seahawks team has been doing. They shocked my expectations because I thought they were going to be like an 8-8 team and miss the playoffs. They were close to that, but made the playoffs, and they're going to get the win over the Cowboys. Moving back to the AFC, Ravens-Chiefs, this is a rematch in Arrowhead, and just like you wanted to, I'm actually going to do it. Andy Reid doesn't win a playoff game. Patrick Mahomes, I know this is technically his second year. This is his first playoff game. Yeah. So Lamar and Patrick are rookies in this game, and Lamar technically has a playoff game under his belt before Patrick Mahomes because he played in the wild card last week. Ravens almost beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead the first time. That's not going to faze them. They're going to walk in, get the win. The defense is going to help. Lamar's going to not turn over the ball. He's going to have a day. Ravens move on to the AFC Championship game. Patriots-Colts, I want this one so bad. Deflategate 2.0, because the teams might not remember Deflategate. Well, they probably do, but it's like you got Frank Reich here.
They remember the fact that it didn't matter because the Colts couldn't score.
Yeah, the Colts couldn't score. But, I mean, the Patriots, I know that they've seen down. I know that most people might be doubting them this year. I can't doubt them in this game. I would love the Colts to go in there hot as hell and get this win, but I am going to side with the Patriots. It's kind of like the mini Bama rule of I can't, until I see it happen, I can't do it, which will be funny in the next round. But then NFC side, the Saints playing the Seahawks. Saints going to get the win there. It's going to be tough to beat the Saints in the Dome this year, especially when they remember what happened last year and they won't have to see the Vikings this year in the playoffs. Rams and Bears, going to be a tough game. I think this game is flipped from the last time because it's in L.A. The Rams play better. They don't have to play in Chicago. Rams get the W over the Bears, probably like a 27-24, maybe 24-21, a close 3-point game for the Rams over the Bears. And then the championship games. In the AFC, I've got the Patriots. I've got the Ravens. A classic AFC title showdown. And I've got Lamar Jackson and the Ravens moving on to the Super Bowl. They're going to walk into Foxborough, get the win over the Patriots. On the other side, the Rams come into New Orleans. Drew Brees goes, oh, that's cute. You brought Jared Goff to play. I'm going to show you how a real quarterback plays. And Drew Brees is going to will this team to the Super Bowl.
Naturally.
And my Super Bowl matchup will be the Saints from the NFC, the Ravens from the AFC, meeting in Hotlanta.
A little shocking.
For Super Bowl Lee.
Yeah. A little shocking to have the Ravens in there, but I appreciate your boldness. Like I said,
it was going to be a shock. It was going to be a shock value because I wanted either the Colts or the Ravens in my Super Bowl.
I'm sure you did.
And I sided with the Ravens over the Colts because I have more confidence in the Ravens going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs
because of the defense
than the Colts going into Foxborough and beating the Patriots.
Something needs to be said here for everybody who pays attention to our podcast and knows of the kiss of death.
And the smooch of death.
Yeah. I do think it's worth mentioning that the kiss of death has kiss of death to you in a sense because you tried to game the system this offseason. You're too aware. And you're like, I'm going to put the Vikings in there and have them lose to the Jaguars. The kiss of death worked. Jaguars are gone. But the kiss of death got a little splash damage on it and got you by not having your team make the playoffs.
This is like the year I picked the Cowboys and the Colts. I think it was when the kiss of death started because the Cowboys were my pick. They were decimated. The Colts were the team that I picked to lose in that Super Bowl, and they didn't have the best of seasons, but they were just out of or just in the playoffs and got knocked out.
The kiss of death says, I'm on to you.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. But my kiss of death is relinquished, and also I do have a mini smooch of death because I picked the Patriots to win last year in these predictions, and they lost in the Super Bowl. So whoever I pick here, just know that your team might not win the Super Bowl, but we will go into those Super Bowl predictions. What are you looking at?
I got the number 1 seed Chiefs versus the number 1 seed Saints. Very classic when it comes to projections and statistics and whatnot, and what these teams should be able to do. For me, this was my team that I had winning the Super Bowl last year. They didn't get there. This is a team who this offseason I said would win the Super Bowl. And I'm going to still ride with it. This time, I was originally going to have them play the Patriots. I didn't have the Patriots in this time.
So who are you picking?
I'm going to pick the Saints.
Okay.
Because I didn't have the Chiefs even in the playoffs. So definitely the Saints.
So you're having Saints over the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
For sure.
As mine.
And then maybe Drew Brees can ride off into the sunset. I always love the ride off into the sunset.
You can just retire and be happy.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, this is going to be boring because we have the same champion. I'm going to pick the Saints to get the win over the Ravens. Lamar Jackson and his run fall just short. I think the Saint team they're just too strong. They are too big, too fast, too strong, too good. They are laser focused. Drew Brees is not going to let this team mess up like it did last year.
Yeah, he doesn't want to mess this up again.
And the Saints are probably my strongest pick to win the Super Bowl, obviously, and that's why I have them winning the Super Bowl here. But, Mark, I've got one thing I want to throw a curveball at you.
All right, we're going to talk about some Pro Bowl.
Not Pro Bowl, but close.
Bummer.
I want to ask you very quickly, just rapid fire, doesn't have to be too long.
Okay.
I want to give you some postseason awards, and you tell me who you would pick. The first one will start off your MVP for this year.
Patrick Mahomes.
Well, you got to talk a little bit because I got
No, it's just Patrick Mahomes. I'm done. No, here's the thing about Patrick. Over 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. It's great. I do think that there needs to be a little bit of mention of a lot of that is Andy Reid's offense. I mean, a lot of it is also some advantages of some of those players like a Tyreek Hill. And that 50th touchdown to me was the perfect one where that receiver should have been tackled, but the defender fell. And he was able to waltz into the end zone. That is a classic summary of what this season is for me, for Patrick Mahomes. Of he had a lot of things go right. I still think he's a great quarterback. I still think he deserves the MVP. But I just want to say before everybody says he's the greatest of all time, which I have literally seen some Chiefs fans say that.
Oh, Jesus.
Although I've also seen a few Ravens fans say that about Lamar Jackson. So, maybe I shouldn't be saying anything.
Calm down,
Let's wait and see what happens.
I really want to give this to Drew Brees. I really want to give the MVP to Drew Brees, but I can't. I'm going to give it to Patrick Mahomes. So here's what I'm going to do. Patrick Mahomes, you've had a great season, 50 touchdowns in a year. You're the MVP. However, the next one, Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to give that one to Drew Brees because I feel like Drew Brees minus the 50 touchdowns in a season and the 500 or 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
I want to almost say that Drew Brees is more valuable to the Saints than Patrick Mahomes is to the Chiefs because Alex Smith brought the Chiefs to the playoffs last year, but you could say they weren't, I guess, the number one seed last year, I don't think. So
yeah.
That's why I will give Mahomes the MVP, but offensive player I would give to Drew Brees.
And I would agree with that. I would agree that Drew Brees would then get the offensive player if Mahomes gets it. I mean, it's between those two guys, essentially, and you just flip it whichever way you want.
What about, and this will be interesting because I know who you're going to pick for this.
Of course you do.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Khalil Mack.
I knew that was coming.
And here's the thing. I mean, the Chicago Bears defense was already really good. Khalil Mack comes in and takes them up a whole new level. The only two...
Could you make an argument for Khalil Mack to be the MVP? Because without him, the Bears would not be in the playoffs?
No, I don't think so. Only because it's not like a surefire, it's not like, for example, Mike Glennon was the quarterback, and now you got Mitch Trubisky, and all of a sudden he throws 50 touchdowns. It's not a thing like that. This defense was good enough, but to potentially get them there, even though probably not, Khalil Mack comes in here and it's a 12-win team. You might want to give a little bit more credit to coaching staff for that. I'm not sure, but I do think there is some value to that. And for him, that's why I know Aaron Donald exists. And I know Aaron Donald is amazing. But Khalil Mack's impact on the Chicago Bears is incredibly easy to see.
Yeah, Khalil Mack to me easily. And the reason why is, or not Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, I meant to say easily, because Khalil Mack is my number 2. But Aaron Donald, you have 20 and a half sacks in a season. Like, you come that close to the sack record, I've got to give you a defensive player. And
I don't blame you.
And that's why, for me, like, it's got to be between Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack because those, to me, are the only two that deserve anywhere near this award. The next one, I feel like we're going to give it to the same guy, so I'll give mine first. Coach of the Year, Frank Reich.
No.
From the Colts.
Matt Nagy.
You're going to say, I should have known you were going to go Matt Nagy. Why
Matt
Nagy over Frank
He takes
Reich?
a 5-11 team and turns them into a 12-4 team. Division winner, a team that has not won their division in years, a team that has struggled to beat all of their division opponents in the last few years, and they beat all of them except for the Packers one time. They beat the Packers the other time. And arguably you can say the Bears probably should have beat that Packers that time. It's obviously Matt Nagy to me.
I'm going to say Frank Reich just because of
And I don't blame you
what
for picking
he's
Frank
done
Reich.
with this Colt team, because I know that this Colt team was 8-8 last year without Andrew Luck. Now they have Andrew Luck this year. They go ahead and get Frank Reich, what he has done in his first year. I feel like it's not an easy decision. I forgot about Matt Nagy and the Bears-ness over there. But it's going to be hard to decide between Frank Reich and Matt Nagy, because Matt Nagy, although I forgot about him, he does deserve it and should be in the discussion.
And a big thing for that's going to be, too, I think that makes a difference, is last year there was quite a few people saying Mitch Trubisky could be a bust. Matt Nagy shows up, and all of a sudden a lot of people are going, oh, no, he's probably a real quarterback. People aren't saying he's the greatest of all time, but he's real deal.
The next one I'm going to skip because I feel like we're going to say the same person. Who would you say is comeback player of the year?
Comeback player of the year?
Are you thinking the same one I'm thinking?
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. It's easy. Just move on.
I was trying to think if there was somebody else I could give it to, but no, Andrew Luck.
It's Andrew Luck. And then the last two that are the very last two, offensive rookie of the year. Who are you giving it to?
Offensive rookie of the year, there's a big part of me that actually wants to give it to Lamar Jackson because of how how big of an impact he's had on this team, but I'm going to give it to Philip Lindsay.
Really?
Yep.
Over Saquon Barkley?
Philip Lindsay was an undrafted free agent that came in here and made the Denver Broncos a respectable team. I know that Saquon Barkley is fucking amazing. I'm not taking that away, but I expect him to be amazing.
He was the second leading rusher this year.
And he was also the third overall pick? Second or third?
Yeah, that shouldn't matter about just
it
because
does
you're
when
drafted.
it does when the other guy's an undrafted free agent that nobody thought would do anything.
Yeah, but you're talking about like MVP.
It's not a pure stat argument. It can't be a pure stat argument. It's also what difference this player has in the things around him.
Ask me this then. You got one pick of a running back. Who are you picking? Saquon Barkley or Philip Lindsay?
You're
picking Philip
but
Lindsay?
that's not the question.
That's
the question isn't
asked.
which running back. Sure, but that's not the question you asked before of the offensive rookie of the year. Offensive rookie of the year to me is Philip Lindsay because of the difference he made for his team.
But they didn't make the play. They're still a
Neither
bad
did the
team.
Giants, so we can't give it to Saquon Barkley, can we? Because they didn't make the playoffs. They're still a bad team.
Didn't let me see.
I'm not doubting that Saquon Barkley is a great player.
And I had the Colts record wrong. They were 4-12 last year.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that Saquon Barkley is a great player. I'm just saying that there's circumstances around Philip Lindsay to me, and I'm not the one who makes the decision.
All right.
But the
Giants had
circumstances
one
make a
less
difference
win
to me.
than the Broncos this year. One less.
The circumstances of Philip Lindsay being an undrafted free agent who didn't even get a chance at the beginning of the year.
You know what
makes a difference to me.
I am shocked we're having this debate because you want to know who I thought you were going to say? Who? Big Boy Baker. I thought you were going to say Baker Mayfield.
No. I do think that he would deserve it as well, but I have to give credit to the guy who not a single person in the world would have expected to be as successful as he is.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Saquon because he is going to be
Broncos fans, I got your back.
He is going to be a staple at the running back position for years to come. The last one, and this one will be the hardest for me, only because just thinking in my head who I could pick this year. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Do you got one?
Defensive Rookie of the Year, Roquan Smith.
Is that you're just bearing it up?
Roquan Smith. The thing about the Defensive Rookie of the Year is you don't have when Von Miller was a rookie. When Aaron Donald was a rookie. You don't have one of these guys who just comes out here and knocks everybody out of the park. The reason I like to go with Roquan Smith is because he's quickly become a huge general of the Bears defense. He is always in the right place. He's a guy who didn't get training camp. He was holding out.
Well, he held out.
Yeah, so he did not get training camp. He barely got to play in week 1. Thank you for that. And he comes out there and he takes over this team, does a phenomenal job. I'm going to give it to him. The Bears, bear down.
Yeah, with me, I am going to go with, I'm probably going to lean towards Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts, just because of what this team has done and what he has done at that linebacker position.
Yeah, I think that's worthwhile. I do. But this is one of those years, too, where you have some clear cuts for some of these. I don't think you have a clear-cut answer for defensive rookie.
Well, defensive rookie of the year, like you could say, you know what? I'm going to change my answer. I want to pick between two because I completely forgot about. You know what? I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to go Leighton Vander Esch because he's been really good too. Guy to be the basically I want to say like the Ray Lewis of that Dallas Cowboys situation where it's like he is the commander of that defense at the middle linebacker position, calling the audibles, changing them. But you could say Derwin James from the Chargers has been good this year. You could say Denzel Ward in Cleveland has done well. You could say Roquan Smith in Chicago has done well. So, I mean, there are numerous players. This one to me is the hardest one, but I'm going to switch and go Leighton Vander Esch. But we're both going linebackers for this one.
Linebackers are where it's at.
And then executive of the year, obviously, John Gruden. John Gruden, he wins executive of the year. He got 3 teams into the playoffs.
Definitely.
He got the Seahawks, the Bears, and the Cowboys all into the playoffs this year.
And got his team a really good early round pick.
He did. He got really good
What are they,
draft
number
picks.
3 or 4?
4.
Yeah,
they're 4. Because it's going to be the Cardinals at 1, the 49ers at 2, Jets at 3, Raiders at 4.
Beautiful pick.
And then I think the 5th is the Buccaneers.
It's a beautiful pick.
But this is where you guys come in. Let us know your Super Bowl prediction, playoff prediction, end of the season, yearly award predictions down below in the comment section. We'll be back with our regular weekly picks next week. This was just one because we do the playoff predictions each and every year before the playoffs. I want to thank you guys for watching the podcast or listening. Make sure to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Help support us. We can't do what we do without the support of our patrons. Make sure to go rate and review The Onside Kick on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. And make sure to check us out at mostvaluablepodcast.com as well. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good day, everybody.